And there's the green light. All right, so we're on. We're live. Hi, everybody. My name's Gary. We are going to be working on our first serious effort, first foray into arpeggios, which is the last foray into the really challenging, scary stuff that we have to learn. And so today's going to be a big day. Let's take a minute and run over to jollyrogerukulele.com. I'm going to post the link there, and if you're watching the video, you need to go there to get the sheet music, of course. And we're doing lesson 17 of the foundation series here, and it is the important part that we are sort of in the moment of is we are working on making sure that you have all the tools in place prior to embarking on a lifelong journey, I guess I should say, of playing ukulele at a high level. It takes me about 10-15 minutes to show you how to play ukulele at a low level, and that's where most ukulele players, that's fine for them. But if you want to play at a high level, you want to play, the really legitimate stuff, you got to work a little bit harder, and that's what we do here. I'm going to tweet our lesson while I'm waiting for everybody to get logged in here. jollyrogerukulele.com, jollyrogerukulele.com. That's that, and then I've been putting on the photo of whatever photo we're using. So let's see, foundations, lesson 17, and we tweet. All right, we are officially tweeted, and that will get us going. We'll mention briefly in passing the second hour of ukulele each day, the tougher ukulele I've been calling it, is doing some really super cool stuff. Today we're working on an arpeggio in C and G for baritone here in the ukulele in the foundations class, while at the higher level they're working on the same exact thing, only in much more challenging chord positions, and it kind of hurts your hand a little bit. So the fact that we're working on arpeggios in this area when we're also working on them in the upper area tells you how important they are, and also that I need you to get started and get you comfortable with the whole process. There's 30 arpeggios altogether. The last 6 or so are probably unnecessary, but the first 24 for sure are invaluable to helping you become a higher level ukulele player. And so today we start that process of getting you comfy of what those are. The other thing in the next hour, playing some Scottish music today. Will Ye Nye Come Back Again, and Melville Castle, maybe if we get to it. Plus I'm working on, as time allows, Waters Wide, In the Gloaming, Seal, Rune, Skyboat Song, The Parting Glass. We've already finished Mitcher Boy, Last One of the Summer, Molly Malone, Whiskey in the Jar, Ash Grove, Danny Boy. So if you have any Celtic heritage at all, this is the place to be hanging around. This class, we are now up to what I would consider, we have really only one last kind of scary thing that we have to do, which is to really master the key of F. Outside of that, guys, we're going to just continue to get more and more comfortable with what we've learned. And did get an email from somebody who says, man, I'm really struggling. You should be struggling, and you should not feel like you need to be able to play everything yet. The process of getting all of the pieces and parts of this system in place are challenging, to say the least, but they're worth it. And so if you're looking at a piece of sheet music and it says 0212 and you're like, I have no idea what that means, well, in my head that's a G7, right? And it didn't come to me overnight. I had to work my way through it as well. So hopefully you are taking your time to appreciate the journey and not necessarily the destination. Nancy's in this morning from Florida. Sound is good. Linda's in from Colorado Springs. Sounds as good as we have perfect weather here in Colorado today. Perfect. I think it's going to be 62 something, sunny, not a cloud in sight. Let me take a look. Let's see what Google says the weather's going to be today. At the moment, it is 60. 61 degrees out. We're going to a high of 63. So, Linda, as soon as this is over, we're going to let's just run outside and go like this, right? Donna's in. She's a local too. Good afternoon. Warm and sunny Lakewood, Colorado. She lives right over there. And I can see her house from my house. No, I can't. Nancy, I don't know. Nancy's applauding for some reason. Jim is in. 38 degrees. Blue skies and sunny. He's having a heat wave up there in northern Alberta, Canada. Jim, glad to have you in. Lynn's got 24 degrees in New Jersey. It's freezing in New Jersey. Sorry, Lynn. You lose so far. Vic is in from Eugene. She was having a foggy morning. How's it going now? Lynn says, blue sky and 50 in New Jersey. Snow is melting. Wow, what was 24? Oh, 24 arpeggios. Actually, Lynn, you're having a lovely day. You're having a killer day out there. Yeah, there are, in the arpeggio book, there are 30 arpeggios. The first 24 are all in keys that theoretically exist. The last 6 are in what they call enharmonic keys. And the enharmonic keys are... they're real keys, but nobody plays in enharmonic keys because it's ridiculous. And so you end up with double sharps in those keys. You end up with all sorts of difficulties, especially if you're a piano player and you're playing in an enharmonic key. You're like, why am I playing it in this key when I can play it in a companion key that's much more sensible? So even Bach did not. He wrote 2 books of the Well-Tempered Clavier, and he wrote 24 twice rather than writing 30 once. So that tells you about those. Of course, I'm a psycho for arpeggios, and so I wrote it in the enharmonic keys as well. Let's see. Mary made it in. She's from Golden. Michelle, welcome in. Michelle, Michelle, I think this might be your first time in. I'm glad to have you. I don't know. Possibly you've been sneaking around behind the scenes. I don't recognize your name. In from Rockaway Beach, Oregon. Is it Rockaway Beach? That sounds like a fun place. Is that the one with the big thing out in the ocean with oh no, that's what is the name of that beach with the rock out in the water? I can't remember the name of that beach. And we went there when we were kids. What is the name of that? Anyway, there's a beach up in Oregon that has a rock out in the water. Can't remember what it is. All right, Lynn says later. Yes, Michelle. Okay, yes. All right. So yeah, it is Rockaway Beach. Okay. All right. Cool. Janice, I'm delighted you're here. I have a question for you. Okay, Janice, focus. Here's the question. I read on Wikipedia. And I never question Wikipedia. I'm 100% willing to believe everything it says. The song I've had it in my my computer for 3 decades now. Will Ye Nigh Come Back Again? Da 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 dun dun da dum. Dum da 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 dum da dum. That's the song we're going to do next hour. I ran into that song because I was back in the day when I was taking piano lessons. I was also doing a lot of golfing, and I read that Bobby Jones was escorted from St. Andrews while the crowd sang "Will Ye Nigh Come Back Again." So I started studying the song a little bit, knew a little bit about it. Never did that much with it, but I understand from Wikipedia that the song is making a comeback in the pro-Scottish movement that's going on up there, that there are people in Scotland who are against the Brexit plan, and they're wanting the Scotland to stay in the European Union, and along with that general uprising, as I don't know how else to term it, that the song "Will Ye Nigh Come Back Again" is being sung more often. I'm also told by Wikipedia that it's still a thing that sometimes that people say, will sing to each other as they are leaving the house. Hey, but will ye not come back again? Let me know if any of that is true, because I'm gonna sound like I know what I'm talking about when I introduce the song in next hour. So Janice, give me just the briefest overview about whether that song is legit, and if it's happening in Scotland, and if it's happening more than usual, and if in fact Scotland is mad at England for trying to break away from the European Union. All right, that's my question for you. All right, now back to more pressing matters. It's 12:12. Q is in. All right, so I did get a message today that said, "Hey, I'm really struggling with tough uke." Please know you're not struggling with tough uke. Tough uke is very hard, and when I introduce it to you, it's like what? And so give yourself permission. You still have we still have 12 lessons or something to get through, and there's going to come a day when the light bulb's like, oh, now I see what he's talking about, and today may be that day. So what I want to have you do is pull up the ukulele version of the key of C arpeggio, and I think by talking about the key of C arpeggio that I think that it will help explain a little bit more about tough uke, okay? And it's going to explain to you about a whole lot to do with your right hand as well. So let's get going on that. First of all, you're looking at the key of C major arpeggio for ukulele. Make sure you're on the right piece of paper. And I want to make sure on the screen that is the one that I have in my computer is the one you are pulling up. So today, it's next week. I was like, what the heck? All right, so let me make sure I'm pulling up the same thing you have. January 31st. Okay, good. All right, so Jenna says, okay, here's the report on Will You Nay. I know the song, Gary, but haven't heard a connection to Brexit. Yeah, Scots know it well and would sing it on leaving. It's nigh, not knee. Okay, cool. Haven't heard it in connection with Brexit, so I'll downplay that part. Thank you, Janice. It's very strange to be doing music like when I do Hawaiian music. One of my students is Pele, and she's actually from Hawaii. Grew up in Hawaii, like legit Hawaiian. I always feel a little guilty doing Hawaiian music around her because it's like, all right, here's this old white guy teaching you how to play Hawaiian music. So I always checking in with Pele, and I'm feeling a little bit skittish about teaching Scottish music with Janice coming in because Janice is from Scotland, and she's like, no, that's not at all how it goes. I've taught an Austrian song, and a friend of mine, Frances, grew up in Austria, and she's like, Gary, that's not even the same melody. So, all right, let's dig into key of C major. Baritone players, you're going to be following along. You're in a different key, but we're going to be talking about the same exact stuff. So, as you're getting comfortable. So, we're at the key of C major, ukulele piece of paper. Notice, the first thing I do, you see the little chord chart up there? It's a C. There's a little black dot there. Put my ring finger there. That's the first thing I do. In almost all of the foundation level pieces of music, that's exactly how you're going to start. Even on the upper level, the tougher songs that we do, most of the time you're just going to grab the chord and the tablature is going to work out most of the time. Now as the melody goes up the neck, that doesn't necessarily hold true, but what I want you to do here is I want you to grab your C chord, and then I want you to look at the tablature, and the tablature says 003 00030, just that one measure. Okay, so if I think about it, I'm going to play zeros on these two strings, and by holding the chord I'm already got that down, and I'm going to play a 3 on that string, and sure enough I'm already holding it down. So just by grabbing the chord, I don't need to do anything else. Now I have to train this hand. Okay, so I have the 3. You could do this with your thumb. The problem with playing it that way is your thumb is very slow, and it's yet again a reason why I don't let you use picks, because picks are very slow. What I want you to do is use these 3 fingers. I want you to put your thumb, let me pull up my window here. I want to make sure that we get this right. If we get this one thing right, everything else. So we're holding the C chord on this. Now, on this hand, you're going to put your, let me make sure the lighting is as good as I can get it, your thumb on the 3rd string, above the 3rd string, index finger underneath the 2nd string, middle finger underneath the 1st string. Okay, so I'm trying to give you as best lighting as I can. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down with the thumb, up with the index finger, up with the middle finger, and then up with the index finger again. Thumb, index, middle, ring. Thumb, thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, index. Okay, so that's the pattern, and we're going to use that pattern for the first 8 measures. Okay, so thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, now hold the chord. Okay, baritone players, right now you sound weird. Okay, because you're in the different key. Janice says she's very tolerant. I think I can get the sense that Scottish people are very tolerant. They tolerated me for 2 weeks in their country, and they're like, yeah, here you go. Thank you, Janice, for letting me visit your island. 00300030. So the first measure, by holding the chord, I'm going to get everything done correctly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's how we're doing to measure 1. 0 0 3 0 0 0 3 0. Okay, so hopefully that's making sense. Okay, now we go to measure 2. The chord changes, so go ahead and put your G chord on. Takes a second. You baritone players, you're putting a D chord on right now just to practice. Okay, now notice the tablature changes dramatically from 0030 0030. Now it says 2323 2323. Well, look what you're holding down: a 2, a 3, and a 2. Okay, so now same pattern, exactly the same pattern. You can even look at the tablature; it looks the same. And so we're going to play measure 2, holding that G chord. Thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, index. Okay, very, very interesting concept. If I'm holding this chord, it sounds like this. And if I'm holding this chord, it sounds like this. Okay, beautiful, right? Now, measure 3. Go grab your F chord. Baritone players, you're grabbing a C chord. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing. Same pattern. Thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, index. Okay, and then in measure 4, you're going to go back to your G chord. Thumb, index, middle, index, thumb. And then 5 through 8 are almost identical. Okay, so let's play 1 through 4 nice and slow, very like that. Okay, take our time through it. And then 5 through 8 are almost the same. Okay, so here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle. Change to G chord. Thumb, index, middle, index, thumb. Change to F chord. Thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle. Measure 5. Go back to your C chord. Keep going. And get ready to change to a G chord. Change. Now get ready to change to the F chord. And then back at measure 8, change to G. Notice the very last note is different. It's just one you stop on 2. Okay, and let it ride. Now, here's what we're really talking about is we're holding the chord, and then instead of playing dun 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 dun. That's what we usually teach in ukulele to 95% of all ukulele players. Dun 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 dun. Right? That's how we play. That's how most people play ukulele. But when you start breaking it down, you can do yourself a whole huge favor by making it sound much more sophisticated by instead of strumming, plucking a pattern. Okay, and so that's what we're working on right now. So let's do it one more time from measures 1 through 8. Baritone players, you can play right along. It'll sound terrible at your house based on what I'm doing, but it'll still give you the same sense of what we're going to work on when we switch to your instrument. Ready? Play. Measure 5. brief aside here, measures, let's use measure 7 as example. The tablature says 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, right? So you could get away with just holding down the 1. You could, but I want you to do the full F chord every time, at least in the beginning. When you're a newer player, if it says F chord, grab an F chord. You're not even going to touch this string. But 2 reasons to do it. 1, we're still training our hand to get comfortable with, here's what a G feels like, here's what an F chord feels like, here's what A minor feels like, here's a G7, right? So we want our hand to just get comfortable with, when you see a G7, it doesn't even think about it, it just jumps right on there. The main reason that we grab the whole chord is probably a pretty good chance we're going to end up using those notes anyway. In this case, we don't use this upper note, but just by having it there, your hand develops a very consistent way of hitting the measures. Very happy. It just memorizes those shapes, and you don't have to think. You do less thinking when you're just grabbing the whole chord every time. Also, if you only hold that note down, this string is going to resonate sympathetically with the other strings. And it's going to be resonating as a G note, and it's not going to sound that great in an F chord, because the F chord really wants to resonate as an A. Sounds a little better if you're holding down the whole chord. So obviously our whole entire goal as musicians is to sound a little better. And so if it says F chord, grab the F chord, even if you're not going to use that note up there. Okay, and we have another really great example down below where you're like, well, why am I holding down anything? We're just training our hand to grab the shapes so that you don't even think about it anymore. I will tell you, as you become an advanced player and you are grabbing entire shapes, sometimes I have the opposite discussion with you. Why are you doing more work than you need to do? And so that discussion changes as to where you are in your pathway. If there's a reason why you're grabbing the entire thing, then heck yeah. But at least at this point, the main reason is I'm still learning to get my chords on quickly and efficiently. All right, now paying attention to measure 8, there is one difference, right? We have this pattern going up, thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, index, and then in measure 8 it goes thumb, index, thumb, index, middle, and notice the type of note up in the standard notation. Instead of one with a flag on the top, it's just a plain old quarter note, and there's no flag on it at all. It's just quarter note. So that note's twice as long as everything else you've been playing. And then when you move into measure 9, it's all quarter notes after that. Okay, so we're going to be playing what feels like half the same speed of whatever speed we were playing up above. Now, measure 9 says grab a C chord again. Again, you're not going to strum everything. You're going to grab strings 3, 2, and 1. Okay, just the same exact shape on your right hand, but instead of doing, now we're going to pluck everybody at once. So 0, 0, 3, pluck. And then it says thumb, index, middle, or 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string. Okay, what is the number? Yeah, great question, Donna. Between measures 8 and 9, there's a double bar. Okay, and you can see at the end of measure 8, you see 2 lines, and then you go on. Double bars usually, most sheet music leaves them off entirely because it's a judgment call when you have a double bar. I use double bars to tell you, hey, we're moving into a new section, a new idea in the music, to give you a little heads up, like, oh, here's a double bar. I'm going to have to think a little bit differently about what I'm doing in the next section. So I'm using double bars more and more and more over time to give musicians an opportunity to be like, okay, I got through that section. Now things are about to change. I'm about to get a new idea. That's what a double bar typically represents. In production sheet music, you don't see a ton of double bars. In classical sheet music, you see lots more double bars because you're like, all right, we played this section. Now we're moving into this completely new section. Keep your heads on. Keep your wits about you. Things are about to change. That's what it says. Okay. And with this piece, I may have slightly overused the double bar idea, but I don't think so. Each time it shows up, we're going to be doing something different. Okay, so thanks for that question, Donna. Good eye. Okay, measure 9. 0, 0, 3, we're going to pluck all 3 together. So instead of this, we're going to go plunk, and then thumb, index, middle. Measure 10, put your F chord on, and then plunk, thumb, index, middle. Measure 11, you're going to put your G7 on, plunk, thumb index middle. Measure 12, another G7, plunk. Okay, double bar, something's about to change, right? 003, going to plunk everybody again. But in this time, now we're going to do middle index thumb. Okay, next one, measure 14, grab your A minor. You're not going to even use that string that you're holding down, but it doesn't matter. You've got your A minor on, and you're going to play 000, plunk, middle index thumb. Okay, next, measure 15, put your F chord on, plunk, middle index thumb. Measure 16, G7. Okay, measure 17. Grab your C chord, double bar, going to change again, plunk, plunk. Thumb index. A minor, plunk, plunk. Thumb index. Measure 19, F chord. Thumb index. Measure 20, G7. At the end of that measure, you're desperate. You're like, oh God, my brain is hurting. It says go play it again. Okay, and so at the end of measure 20, we're going to go back up. There's no forward repeat bar, and so we need to. So we go all the way back to measure 1. Measure 1 technically should have a repeat at measure 1. And I don't know how that managed to disappear on me, but I'm going to add that on to a subsequent version. So when you get to the bottom, you're supposed to go back to measure 1. All right, don't include those repeats there. That's the count-in measure. All right, so let's play through as if it's the second time. We go back up to measure 1. I'm going to go as slow as I can possibly talk myself into. And guys, grab the chord and then follow the pattern with your right hand. Here we go. 1, 2, from the top. Thumb, index, middle. Go to your G chord. F chord. Go back to your G chord. C chord. G chord. F chord. G chord. Twice as long. Next measure, C chord plunk. Thumb, index, middle, F chord. G7, clunk, thumb index middle. Another clunk. 13, C chord. A minor. F chord. G7. 2 C's. F, G7. Second time you come through, you ignore the repeat and you move over into page 2. Now, one of the things you notice when you get to page 2 is things look dramatically different, at least in measures 21 through 28, than they looked in the previous page. Now I have 0003, I have a C chord showing up there, and then in the tablature it says 0003. Hey Dennis, welcome in. I know, you're weeping. Glad you're here, Dennis. Sorry you're sad. 21, 0003 has the little glissando on there like we had in My Spaghetti Monster, so you're going to strum that down. So now look what happens. We were playing the entire thing with our claw, just using the bottom 3 strings. Now we're going to bring in that 4th string, and we're going to bring in our thumb. And that little phrase up above there, RIT, that means slow down. That's what it means. Okay. Now there's several different RITs that are floating around in music. Generally speaking, we all treat it the same way. That means slow down. Some conductors may slow down a little bit. Some say slow down a lot. Some will say we're going to continue to slow down a little bit, depending on the situation in the music. But RIT is sending you the message, hey, we're about to slow down. Okay, so you're going to take your C chord, nice strum down, and then just continue to use your thumb. Hit the 3, hit the 5 with your pinky. Go back to your 3. Measure 22. Put your G chord on. Nice, beautiful down strum. And then a 3, you're already holding it down, hit that. Okay. Measure 23, switch to your F chord, play 3 strings with a rest stroke. Okay. And then 1, 3, 0. And then measure 24, G7, beautiful. Don't rush, 2, 3, 4. Now play the zeros. 1. Measure 26. Again, grab your G chord. It says 0, 2, 3. Strum just 3 strings down. Let it ride, and then hit the 0. I'm just lifting up my ring finger. Measure 27. I'm putting an F chord on. Strum down twice. Hit the 3. Hit the 0. And hit the G7. 2, 3, 4. Now, so that section there feels way different than the previous section, previous page, okay? And then, when you get to 29, look, the glissandos disappear, and you go back to patterns. And so now you know you're going to go back to your claw shape. You're going to grab those bottom 3 strings again, okay? And you're going to, it says a tempo. That means, basically that means go back to the original tempo. In this case, it means speed up, okay? And we're not going to speed up, really. Grab your C chord, pluck the bottom 3, pluck, middle index thumb. A minor, pluck, middle index thumb. F chord, plunk, middle index thumb. G7, C chord. Thumb index, A minor, F chord, thumb index, G7, glissando returns, put your C chord on. Okay, so let's talk about what's important in this piece of sheet music and what's important when you're playing non-etudes. Okay, this is called an etude. It's a study. That's a fancy French word for saying steady. Okay, and when you do studies, or when you do estudio is what they call them in Spanish. When you do studies, you're trying to get everything perfect. Now, nothing is perfect in music. It's not even a goal that I believe in, but you're trying to get it as close to as really, like, you want to play it slow and pretty and correctly more than playing it fast and exciting and with meaning, right? So you're really working on the technical aspects of this, so paying a lot of attention to all of the things on the paper, like when Donna says, hey, what does that double bar mean? That's important, right? Because surely it means something. And on this page, you could see a double bar happens right at the end of 20. It's a repeat in that case, but there's something happens there. When you get to 21 through 28, that's another section, double bar. 29 through 32 is its own little section, and 33 through 37 is its own section. And so you start to, as a musician, and if you're smart at practicing, use those sections to your advantage. Work on section 1 till you feel like you got it. Then work on section 2. Work on section 3. Divide it up into pieces so you're not just playing through the whole song poorly all the way to the bottom and then turning the page. play one section till you kind of got it, then play the next section till you kind of got it. And when getting it will be different as you progress in your musical career. What I play, when I wrote this, I was trying to teach myself how to play these chords, right? That's where I was. Now when I play it, I'm trying to get everything a certain way, really make it meaningful and beautiful. The other thing about this piece of paper, I'm very specific on these etudes of what I want you to do. But when you get regular sheet music from me, I may or may not put glissandos on there. You have glissandos, the little wiggly thing, you have to put those on by hand every single time you put one on. So a lot of times in sheet music, I'm like, they can glissando or not glissando. I don't care, right? And most of ukulele sheet music won't even tell you that. You're unlikely to find very good ukulele sheet music out there anywhere yet. There's me and Colin in Ireland are producing really beautiful sheet music. The rest of the sheet music that you find out and about is usually pretty poorly put together. Not always, but most of the time. And so you may or may not want to even waste your time on it. But when I put this out, if I want you to glissando, I will put one on there for sure. And on other sheet music, I may or may not put it in. But on these etudes, if you see a glissando, that's your thumb going down, and so you want to obey that in etudes because you're trying to get it right. Now, I'd like to play through this one time on ukulele, and then we'll play it through twice on baritone so you can see the difference. Baritone players, since I'm going to play it relatively quickly, and even you guys on ukulele, you may want to just pluck chords and be listening to what's going on so that you can see at full speed what this piece of music would look like and sound like. And at least right now, don't let yourself become demoralized that you can't keep up because that's a goal, right? Right now, I would much rather have you play this. This would make a lot more sense than if you played. Wait 20 minutes. Wait 20 minutes. That's not really what we want. What we want, whatever speed you have to go in order to get your G chord on, I think is basically the bottom line there. So I'm going to play it a little bit faster than you probably will play it, but at least you'll get a chance to really hear it. And baritone players, just give me 4 nice strums of the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 13. 17. 20. I'm going to go ahead and go on. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the neighborhood you're shooting for. Much rather have you play it at half of that speed and keep it smooth and keep the tones clean than to play it at that speed and mess everything up. So tempo is just a suggestion from me. It is not a rule. Okay, so make sure you're cool with that. All right, I'm going to switch to baritones, and we're going to have a chance to take a look at how switching the instruments affects the overall tonality of that. So grab your baritone version of this, and ukulele players will talk about how that would affect your job going through this. So in baritone, same exact left hand patterns, same exact right hand patterns, everything is exactly the same, but it's now in a different key. So ukulele players, when it says a G chord, now you're playing G chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your shape, okay, and then you're going to play a D chord. That's 1, 2, and 3. That's your D chord. Okay, and these chords you are not sure of, right? Somewhere in your life you have come up with a ukulele chord finder, probably on your phone, possibly downloading the chart that's on the website is another place to find those. Your C chord looks like this, okay, and your D7 chord, it's the same as a D except that this finger's up, okay, so you get those two down. So a lot of people will just do index and middle. And then there's one other chord. Oh, E minor. Ukulele, your E minor is kind of tough right there. Okay. All right. Those are your chords if you want to follow along. All right. Baritone players, we're going to play top to bottom on the first page. Then we're going to go back and play top to bottom again. And then we'll play page 2 one time. Okay. So we're going to play it as written. It says, only took me a year to get this stuff down. I don't want this out mean, but I spent years and years and years getting to this level. So back in those days, there weren't the teachers. There was nothing online. There was nothing. We had Jim Beloff's Singing by the Campfire songbook. That's what we had. That was it. That was the complete list of things. So yeah, thankfully I had some piano background and could figure this stuff out, but it was slow going for me as well. All right, from the top, let me get where I'm at a better angle here. This is sort of covering up what you guys, can you see that? There we go. I gotta adjust some stuff here. I think my camera's gotten a little low. From the top, baritone players, ukulele players, just strum the chords with me if you know them. 1, 2, 3, 4. thinking about this type of music, you're thinking, I don't know this song. Gary wrote this song. Who cares about this song? What you're not really thinking like that. You are thinking, these tools I'm now going to be able to use in my songs as I'm creating them. If I'm a singer, I'm suddenly developed really awesome right hand skills. I'm going to be able to knock it out and make people cry with how beautiful I can play. I'm also gaining left hand and right hand control and being able to completely run the instrument from both, two separate things going on at the same time. That's why I don't really care if you are a lefty or a righty. We got to teach both hands specialty techniques, and so it doesn't really matter if you play right-handed or left-handed. We recommend everybody play right-handed just because all the sheet music is written for right-handers. And the only difference would be that we'd give you the mirror image of the chords, and that just ends up being more confusing than helpful ultimately. So there we go. It's a big piece of music. It takes 2 minutes to play that thing, but it's going to give you a lifetime of really cool techniques that you can use. You're learning thumb, index, middle. You're learning middle, index, thumb. You're learning to pluck. You're learning to strum, and you're learning to look at the chord chart and then compare it to what's going on in the tablature and making the necessary adjustments. And so hopefully something I said made some sense today. And that's it. That's all I know about ukulele for the moment. So tomorrow, and let me just make sure you guys are cool. Tomorrow we tackle Amazing Grace. So we're going to work a lot more on G chord tomorrow. That I find it tends to be one of those chords when you're first getting started where G chord is just a little harder to get on than you wish it would. And tomorrow we're going to dig into that. We're actually going to move away from the key of C, which is almost always C, F, and G, and we're going to move over into the key of G, which is G, C, and D. So we're going to get some new chords that were not new necessarily, but just a new approach to that, as well as those of you guys that are on baritone, of course. You guys have been working in the key of G all this time. Now we're going to switch you over to the key of D, which is a very friendly baritone key as well. Friday's coming up, guys. Make a Better Bar. Make sure you're trying to do your warm-ups with Make a Better Bar. Brahms Lullaby, Yankee Doodle, key of C Arpeggio, which is what we just finished, and then Amazing Grace. So we're going to have a nice Friday concert. So be putting a little bit of time in on that. Also, make sure you know that this is hard. And if you're struggling, it's normal. It's not that you aren't able to do it. The only difference between you struggling and quitting and you struggling and succeeding is continuing to show up and try. That's the difference. That's the only difference between success and failure, is continuing to show up. And when something doesn't make sense, ask me questions. And if something does, and if I say, yeah, that is hard, you should accept that. That's okay. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Lynn says, can't tell you how happy this made me. It really showed me how I've done so far. Isn't that exciting? So Lynn is on her second time through, and obviously the first time you go through this, what I just handed to you was like, oh my God, that hurts my head. But the second time through, Lynn's like, you know what? I'm coming along and making the difference. And the big difference is Lynn keeps showing up, right? And so if you want to play ukulele, and guys, everything I teach on this instrument, teach it on ukulele, teach it on baritone, the same exact stuff on that stupid instrument, this guy, right? I got a mandolin sitting over there, same exact stuff, right? So get your head around it on this style of music on a ukulele, and then all of a sudden mandolin becomes a possibility, guitar becomes a possibility, banjo becomes a possibility, balalaika becomes a possibility. Not that you would want to take those possibilities, because all of those instruments have well, they're not cool like ukulele. How about that? They're okay. They're fine. But it's learn it on this instrument where it's a little more approachable, and then you'll take those skill sets into the future. Janice says, I play this before every practice. It's a good idea, Janice, right? You warm up your right hand, warm up your left hand. Those are chords that are part of our bedrock foundation. C, F, G, G7, and A minor. Those are our bedrock songs, and or our bedrock chords, and then we turn those into legitimate music, right? Michelle, thank you for a great class. I have to print the music. All right, Michelle, so glad you're joining us. Let me know what I can do to help you. Delighted that you're joining us. My family lives up in Oregon, and so I and Vic lives up in Oregon, so we're gonna. I'm appreciating the amount of folk music that's gone up in Oregon. And back when I first started, there was actually the Oregon Ukulele Club was a little bit more established than some of the others, and so Oregon has a proud tradition of ukulele players. And I'm glad you're on board here. Vic, good to see you. Jim, you have a awesome day. Go outside, Jim. You can. It's 26 degrees up there, right? That's shorts weather for you, man. Mary says best part of her day. That's very kind, Mary. Good to see you. And Lynn, more than a second. It's your second time, Lynn. It's your second time. Okay, it's your second time. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. I'm going to pull the plug, and I will see some of you in the next hour. I'll see the rest of you tomorrow. Click and stop streaming.